ever feel like your life is just one big, long, scary movie?
And you know what? It doesn't have to be. You don't have to be a passive theater watcher. You can rewrite your story and your movie.
Absolutely. And today we're going to show you how you can do that and turn your tragedy into a romantic comedy if you're into that sort of thing.
Hey, I'm Dr. Tim, and with me, of course, is Dr. Steve, and we're the Ouch Doctors. And we're here to share with you just a new way of looking at pain, of dealing with pain. And we want to give you some real hope and some real power and some real tools to get out of it yourself. It's kind of like do-it-yourself pain relief.
There you go. You know, today we're looking at your pain drama, all the inner players inside of you that take part in your story of pain. And this is hugely important because without this kind of knowledge, you're just a victim of your pain, just like watching a bad movie. But you're going to see that there are different parts of you, and you can find the parts that help you transform, and you have more power than you realize.
And before we go there, just of course, the disclaimer, we're not your doctor. We're not treating you. We don't know you. But what we want is to give you some information that is cutting edge, that's just hot on the market. It's a new understanding of pain. And we want you to kind of ask questions, get into this, and go back to your providers and ask them more questions so you're taken care of and so you get better without drugs, surgery, or any other crazy thing that they're doing out there today.
That's right, Dr. Tim. And also, folks, if you're on YouTube watching this, please remember to subscribe to the channel. We're going to be doing a lot more of these, and we want to have you be part of the tribe. So watch it, subscribe, share.
And remember, when you're in pain, it's not just your body that hurts. In fact, when it comes to chronic pain, science shows that the pain is mostly neurogenic, which means it's created by our nervous system. Yeah, our brain has actually initiated the pain symptoms. And this becomes a vicious cycle.
That's right. Plus, your unconscious thoughts have a lot more to do with your perception of pain than you possibly realize. So for the next couple of days, and really drilling down today, we're going to explore the players in your own pain drama, starting with your unconscious mind and how you can reprogram your own unconscious mind and become the director of your own pain story. So that's what we're going to be doing, and let's take it away.
Steve, what's with a hat?
Oh, well, I thought, you know, women always like a guy in uniform. No, I'm wearing the hat because we're going to start out by taking you guys on a little bit of a journey. We're going to take you guys all out to sea with me, where we're going to teach you a brand new lesson, and it's going to give you a good sense of how all the players interact with one another in your pain drama. So, folks, you should be looking at an iceberg right out here in the middle of the sea now that we've taken the cruise out here. And if you notice, when you look at that iceberg, the iceberg that you see above the surface of the water is only a very, very small percentage of the iceberg. Most of the iceberg is under the surface, right? That's how icebergs work, but that's also how your brain works and how your consciousness works. In other words, your conscious mind, the part that you think of as you, the part that you're listening to us with and thinking with and judging and assessing, that part of your brain is actually a very, very small component of your overall perceptual apparatus, your overall brain function. Most of what's happening in your brain is happening below the level of conscious awareness, and we call that your subconscious, or even sometimes your unconscious mind. Interestingly, your conscious mind is responsible for your willpower, the things you decide you're going to do, the decisions you decide to make, and the analysis that you make moment by moment. But your unconscious mind, where all of that other power lives, that's where your beliefs are, your imagination, your emotions, your habits, and quite frankly, your perception of pain. It's also where your imagination lives. And it is, again, your belief system. And unfortunately, most of us over the course of our lives have developed very specific beliefs about things like health and wellness and pain and disease. And a lot of what got down there into our subconscious mind got there when we were very young, before we had the opportunity to question it or shield ourselves from messages that may not have been appropriate to us. And so maybe for you, I don't know, Dr. Tim, what are some of the messages that you've noticed and encountered that people have in their subconscious or unconscious mind that prevent them from healing?
Well, I have a whole list of kind of stories that are very common with people that have pain. And let me just read off a couple of them. So
Yeah.
I just jotted these down about a half an hour ago. How about this for a story that we tell ourselves? Is whenever I put on my socks and tie my shoes, my back is definitely going to give out. That's a story that you could tell yourself. And I have to have, the only way that I could truly cure my back pain is to have surgery. That's a story that you can tell yourself. And by the way, I highly recommend a book if you're ever considering having any kind of spine surgery or anything like that by Dr. Dave Hanscom. He's a spinal surgeon, and he has done one of the best jobs of telling people don't have back surgery because he's learned the mind-body program of fixing pain and keeping people out of surgery. This pain thing is genetic, isn't it? That's another story that you can tell yourself about pain.
My dad and my mom had pain, so I guess I'm going to have pain as well.
When in fact, Dr. Steve, you and I both know that only 20% of our health is due to genetics. 80% is due to how we live our life.
Absolutely.
And I have a couple more, but can I back up? I'm fascinated by the picture that you put up there about the iceberg. So, yeah. Dr. Steve, you're telling me that the tip of the iceberg represents our conscious mind, which is about 10% willpower and such. But 90% of the iceberg, the part that you don't see and most people think they don't have any control of, is the 90% below the bulk of the iceberg. Is that what you're telling me?
Exactly. And as a matter of fact, you see, so much of what you just described, those stories that we're telling ourselves, we're not always telling them to ourselves out loud. Quite often, those are just stories being circulated around our subconscious mind. Same with the messages that we got from our doctors, from our parents, from our preachers, from our teachers about what's possible. Sometimes, doctors, I believe, abuse their privilege by saying to a patient, well, you're going to have pain for the rest of your life, or you've only got 6 months left to live. And that gets into the subconscious mind because we do not filter the information we get from authoritative sources. And if you don't filter that information and it finds its way into your subconscious, it becomes a driver. It continues to drive you toward that recognition, that realization. And our subconscious mind is the direct conduit to our bodies. All of the neurological activity, all the immune system activity is happening under the auspices of the subconscious mind. And if your subconscious mind is programmed to believe that you're not going to be able to get healthy or pain-free, guess what?
Yeah, you're not.
That's right.
It's fascinating. And you brought up movies to start this episode. And Heidi and I watched a great movie last night called Bleed for This. It's on Netflix. And there's this true story about this Rhode Island boxer. I'm from Rhode Island. And we've had the best boxer that ever came out of the state of Rhode Island was a guy named Vinny Pazienza. And he, quite a character. And I met him once and he's a cool guy. And multiple world champion. And at one point in his career, he was on the top of the world and he was hit by a wrong way driver and he fractured his neck. And all his doctors said, you will never fight again. You will never fight again. But that was not the story that Vinny Pazienza told himself. He told himself, I am definitely going to fight again. So again, he's a dude with a fractured neck with people pounding on him in the sport that he chose of boxing. And the doctors are saying, you're going to be paralyzed. And he was like, no, I'm going to fight again. And who do you think came out the victor? Who do you think was the winner of that particular story? It was Vinny.
Well, Vinny, of course. And I think again and again, we see this. And sometimes people will say, well, sometimes doctors are wrong. That's not the point here. The point is that we can take back the power. We can change the outcome if we don't accept.
And one more thing on the poster.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. One more thing on the poster of the iceberg that I love so much about that is that also to me, the tip of the iceberg represents chronic pain. And then the main part of the pain, and that's only like just a small tip of the iceberg, but below that is all the neurological patterning and neuroplasticity that we've been talking about for a few days. All that stuff is underneath the water that you don't see, kind of like the subconscious. You're not tapped into it. But again, a reminder that by gaining knowledge and learning more about chronic pain, like you're doing, all you listeners are doing right now, listening to Steve and I, you're actually reversing that unconscious pain spiraling activity, and we're reducing our pain. So it's really a cool picture. I love it. But I am disappointed that you took your hat off. Thank you.
Well, I gotta say, in my work in the area of hypnotherapy, we're really concerned with communicating with the subconscious, because that is where the power and the driver lives. That's where we can make changes. Now, we said that we're going to help you understand the players in the drama of your own pain. And your conscious mind, without realizing that you're doing this habitually, like what you were saying, you're telling yourself stories about how you may not be able to get better. What you don't realize that you're actually doing is you're continuing to reprogram your subconscious mind to believe that, because you haven't decided to take charge of your own mind. So when I say the conscious mind, that's what you usually think of as you. You know, I'm talking to my mind. My conscious is hopefully talking to my subconscious. My subconscious is what I call my mind. I'm talking to my mind. I'm asking my mind to do things differently. You've got to understand how to communicate with the unconscious mind. For example, are you aware that the unconscious does not know the difference between a positive or a negative statement? Meaning that if I say, I don't want this pain, I don't want this pain, why won't this pain go away? What your conscious mind hears, your unconscious mind hears is pain, 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 and reinforces the pain. So you don't want to use the word pain to try to get rid of pain. You want to use comfort, peace, ease in my body. I want to feel ease in my body. And so your conscious mind needs to learn how to communicate with your unconscious mind by speaking in a language that it understands. Your unconscious mind also understands the language of imagery or visualization. So it's very important that you start to develop the habit and the pattern of seeing yourself healthy and free and flexible and strong, because by repeating those kinds of images, you're essentially programming your unconscious mind to start supporting you in achieving that set of goals. And as we get into the neurology of pain at a later time, you'll see how important the interpretation that you have of your pain is in determining how much pain you actually have.
Steve, this stuff is so fascinating. I'm blown away the more I study it and I learn it. This stuff is fascinating. And I'm just blown away by how many people need to hear this. Just think about how many people are out there are just wrapped up in their own story, in their own bad movie, and they're taking stronger and stronger medication. Maybe they're considering surgery. They're watching TV all day long. They're wallowing in negativity. They're eating potato chips. And we need to get, and that's why you and I are doing this, is to get this message out now. And it's still a burgeoning science. I mean, stuff is going on all day long. Now, I know out in the University of Boulder in Colorado, they're doing fascinating research with this.
Yeah.
But it just fascinates me. And when you're talking about the conscious and the unconscious mind, and with your background of hypnotism, can you share anything, Steve, that how do you connect the conscious and the unconscious?
Well, yesterday,
how can you do that?
Yeah. Yesterday, I had a client who had fibromyalgia pain for about 11 years, and it's rare that it's a man, but it can be a man. In this case, this was a man, and he was describing how he's had this pain for such a long time. And when I got to talking to him, I realized how many ways in which he was reinforcing the presence of that pain with his language without even realizing it. And so he was basically reinforcing that he was going to continue to be in pain. He had all kinds of stories, as you described, that just kept on making him feel like he needed to be in pain. But what I said was, you've got to learn, and we're going to teach you not to talk to yourself that way. And in the meantime, let's go ahead and talk to your unconscious, to your subconscious mind. And so we did a process where I had him get very quiet and calm and peaceful. And we used something called ideomotor responses. Now we're going to demonstrate this to you in future episodes, and maybe we'll do a little bit of it today. But it just turns out that every one of us not only have the ability to communicate with our words and with our facial expressions and with overt gestures, but we're always communicating in very subtle, minuscule ways, aren't we? For example, if I lie, maybe my pupils dilate. right? If I'm embarrassed, my skin gets red. I can't make that happen, but it happens. If you're a gambler and you're a good gambler, you know how to read the tell of your opponent, right? You could see the little subtle shifts in their physiology that they don't even know that are happening, right? Well, it's also true that your subconscious mind is expressing itself through your body in very, very subtle ways. So I had this gentleman stand up and I said, let's go ahead and talk to your unconscious mind. And I said, let's ask your unconscious mind if it's willing to let go of this pattern of pain. And he's standing there and his eyes are closed. And I said, first of all, ask your subconscious mind if it will give us a yes by swaying forward. And I have him stand there until he's not trying to make it happen. He's just standing there, and all of a sudden his body starts to sway forward. And he's like, whoa, what happened? How did that happen? It's your unconscious mind talking to you. Okay, let's ask if it's willing to let go of this pattern of pain. And he waits a while. All of a sudden he moves forward like that. Well, we sit him back down again, and we walk him through a hypnotic process where he's able to use the power of visualization to shed the layers of pain, to delete the old pain programs and to reprogram himself to feel happy, healthy, and confident, and to let go of the language that sustains the pain. And in a period of about 20 minutes, he was pain-free. It was the first time he remembered being pain-free. And I've talked to him since then, and he continues to be pain-free from that problem. So very, very rapid shifts that can happen when you remove the unconscious programming that has it happen. And first, by removing the conscious belief that it's always got to be that way.
Yeah, just incredible stuff. And what a great story here, Steve. And a couple more things that I remembered too is here's some more negative stories that people can tell each other that are just, you can tell by now after Dr. Steve's story that these, if you're a person with this type of mental messages continuously repeating themselves, you're not going to have good luck with getting out of pain. I'm always going to be in pain. I'll never be able to ride a bike again or run again or, pick up my grandchildren again. These are all stories that aren't real. They're only real in your mind. If you have any of those, just be aware that you can heal from that. You can change from that. Other people have done it. Why not you?
Absolutely. And Tim, you brought up a point last week I want to reiterate, which is journaling. It's a really good idea to get in the habit of starting to write down your thoughts, because when you see them on paper, they take on less reality. You can start looking at the way that you're communicating with yourself and start to realize that your words, again, I said this last week, your words are not just descriptive, they are also predictive. Be careful what you're saying. What you're saying is really reprogramming your subconscious mind to say, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. I will, if you want pain, I'll set it up so you can have pain. Now, we are opposed to seeing this because often we believe we understand life. I'm just saying it, right? I'm just saying it. But I've been writing and thinking a lot about this lately, Dr. Tim, the idea that so much of what we learned growing up is wrong, right? Yeah. Did I tell you this story? This was an interesting one. I remember this back in chiropractic school. I learned this. For years, I've heard people say that the folks who were born back in the late 1700s, for example, a couple hundred years or so ago, their life expectancy was only around 40 or 50. They didn't live anywhere near as long as we did. Have you heard that, Tim?
I have heard that.
It's not true. The reality is that the statistic that people are quoting is what's called the life expectancy statistic, which takes into account everybody from the moment they're born until the moment they die. That means it includes all of the people who died in childbirth. Okay, so infant mortality back in the 1700s was very high because of certain diseases and because of a lack of medical care. And so there were 20% of people didn't make it through childbirth. They're all counted in the statistic. If you've got 100 people and 20 of them died in childbirth and the other 80 of them lived until they were 80 years old, the average life expectancy would only be about 60, even though everybody who lived past childhood lived until 80.
Right. It's a misleading stat.
It's a misleading stat. So the reality is that we're assuming that we're so much better off because we think we understand the statistic when we don't. Another one we talked about the other day, right, Tim, was about cold, right? Didn't your grandma used to say, come in from the cold or you'll catch it, you'll catch your death. You'll get sick, right?
Right.
It's not true. In fact, right now, according to a lot of studies, Wim Hof we'll talk about later, cold is very healing. Cold is very good for you, not bad for you. So these are just examples of the ways in which we've heard things, we've absorbed them into our subconscious mind, and we're living our lives based on them. Don't live your life based on the assumption that you can't get out of pain. Don't live your life based on the assumption that the words you're telling yourself don't have the power to either heal you or hurt you.
Don't live your life being an actor in a bad movie.
Absolutely. That's it. And again, it's all about your interpretation. You see, one of the things that we'll talk about in our segment on neurology is that pain and the degree of pain depends not on the actual stimulation level of the nerves, but on your perceived stimulation level. Meaning that if something small happens, but you think it was something big, like you think you got bitten by a snake when you only brushed against a stick, your pain's going to be excruciating because your perception is being affected by what you think. And so we always have to go back to looking at how your brain is mediating and moderating the experience of pain for you.
Fascinating stuff. And can I ask you, Steve, you said we could turn our lives into a romantic comedy. What's your favorite romantic comedy?
Oh, you know what? Lately, I've been going back and watching one that not everybody's seen. It's called Music and Lyrics with Hugh Grant and Drew Barrymore. Great movie, great music, lots of fun. Check it out.
I will. I fall for Jerry Maguire every time. I have to watch it every few years.
The most quotable movie in the world. Go back and think about how many quotes there are from that movie. You had me at hello, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, what's our one big tip today, Dr. Steve?
Look at that. It sounds like my eggs are ready or something. I don't know how to turn that sucker off. Stop that. Shush. There we go. I'm sorry. What were you saying?
What's our one big tip for the day?
Guys, you know, we really want you to begin to develop a relationship with your subconscious mind. And the best way to do that is to play with this notion of ideomotor responses. I'll give you a couple ways to do that. One is you stand up, just like I explained with my friend Joe that I was working with, and you stand there and you close your eyes and you say, give me a yes, which is a sway forward, and you don't make yourself sway forward. You just wait until you get the yes. Prove to yourself, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that your body is communicating to you through your subconscious. Then what you can do is you can play with one of the most fascinating things that hypnotists often use is a pendulum. And what you do, all you have to do is have a string and a washer on the end, or a coin tied to the end of it. And there's nothing mystical or magical about it. But what you could do is you could hold the pendulum still, maybe make a circle on a piece of paper, and have it just hang down right over the center of the circle, and just say the word yes to yourself. Yes, yes, yes. And watch what happens. Now, maybe for you, it might be that pendulum will start to swing forward and back, forward and back, forward and back. And you absolutely are sure you didn't do anything to make that happen. And you stabilize it and you say, okay, give me a no. And then maybe no will be right and left, right and left, right and left. And once you know what your yes looks like and what your no looks like, it's different for different people. So unless you command it, as you say, give me a yes, which is a forward and a back, your mind will give you that. But you could start using that to get answers to questions you want answers to. It's basically your body knowing coming out. You're starting to hear what your body, your deep subconscious mind is telling you. And that's a great exercise for you to start developing a relationship to your unconscious mind, because as we go along, we're going to teach you what to say to your unconscious mind to help you out of pain. But here's a good way for you to at least say, hi, I'm Steve. I'm your subconscious. Nice to meet you.
I can't wait to do that, Steve. Thanks for that.
Absolutely.
And join us tomorrow when I debut my international award-winning poem, Pain Brain. I don't know if you know that I am the self-appointed poet emeritus for the Ouch Doctors. And tune in tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Our topic tomorrow is going to be the morning ritual. Reduce pain as soon as you get out of bed.
That's awesome. So as soon as you get up, you've got something you can do. And if you start doing it, you may have a much better day. You're going to have a much better day as a result. And like I said, we got lots more of the same coming along the way. So guys, have a wonderful week. And remember, no pain, no brain. That's probably not a really good one, is it? Guys,
everybody.
See you later.